Hi guys, many people ask me when I believe a united Ireland will come about, but I, like many others, simply can't put a date on it as many factors are in play. But those who are actually pushing for the reunification of Ireland need to include the DUP among their ranks. They push for a Brexit that upended the status quo, of course, under the belief that it would result in a hard border on the island of Ireland. They also seem determined not to make Northern Ireland work by blocking the formation of the executive, and now want to deny the people of the island of Ireland a democratic vote. What am I talking about? Well, when the vote came in for Brexit, as we know, it passed by a simple majority. Ian Paisley was happy with that, but wouldn't apply the same criteria to something that he would disagree with. Have a listen to this.
Wood says that other factors need to then come into that. I think everyone agrees, and I even agree with Seamus, the late Seamus Mallon on this point, that you just couldn't have a simple majority deciding this. This is a matter of such constitutional magnitude that you need to make sure that there's a weighted turnout, so there is a good turnout.
But that's not what the Good Friday Agreement says.
Well, it doesn't not say it, but it's silent on these issues. It just says there should be a referendum. And whenever there was previously when there was a one but last Scottish referendum, there was a weighted majority turnout. So there had to be a sizable turnout of people to show that they were confident in being asked this
question. But that sounds to a lot of people like you're changing the rules mid-game. The Good Friday Agreement simply talks about a simple majority.
I think changing the goalposts now would be a major mistake and disastrous.
We're not actually identifying, we're not actually in the game, and we're having the discussion about what it should look like. So I think it's right and proper that at this early stage, Colin's talked about 10 years, we should at least put this issue within the mechanism about this. Because I'm sure Colin agrees that you just don't want a majority plus one to actually take a divided territory that's in dispute into another zone, because you just end up with a divided territory that's in dispute in another zone. That solves nothing. That doesn't address anyone's interest. And we've been about protecting minority rights in Northern Ireland for the last 30 years. So if unionists are a minority, then their rights will need to be protected going forward. So this issue of resolving what the ballot looks like, the question that is on the ballot,
what about a majority plus two? What about 52%?
Well, I think
if 52% was sufficient to get was sufficient to get the UK out of the EU, why wouldn't it be sufficient in this area?
And you know my position, as I publicly stated, indeed, brought a bill into Parliament on this issue, that is pretty clear that is not, on a major question of constitutional change, that is too narrow. And we learn from
Brexit was a massive issue of constitutional change.
Yes, and we learn from those issues of
We learn from those issues. A number of things to talk about here. First of all, this weighted majority. What the hell does he mean by that? Does he mean that a certain number of unionists have to vote? If unionists boycott a border poll, a referendum on a united Ireland, that it wouldn't be valid? Is there some sort of quota of people who have to come out and vote for this? What is he talking about? Of course, this is all pretty ironic because the DUP campaigned against the Good Friday Agreement. They were against the signing of the Good Friday Agreement back in 1998. And now they're trying to rewrite the rules. They're trying to reinterpret what the Good Friday Agreement is actually talking about. There's no mention of a quota. There's no mention of a weighted majority or any sort of requirement in the Good Friday Agreement regarding a border poll. A simple majority is required. The DUP don't like that because they fear that they would lose. So instead of actually accepting a loss, they're trying to make it more and more difficult for the border poll to go the way they don't want it to go. Once again, they were against the Good Friday Agreement. They're against a border poll, and they're trying to stop a united Ireland happening, whether the majority want it or not. And of course, the Brexit angle here, the DUP had no problem with 52% coming back in support of Brexit. They didn't say, that's too small, we need to have another referendum. No, they were fully supportive of that. Of course, they're not happy with the type of Brexit they got, but they definitely wouldn't like to go back into the EU. They wouldn't like to undo Brexit and have another go. Which is all ironic once again when it comes to the DUP, because the Northern Ireland Protocol puts Northern Ireland in a position which is, in a sense, could be argued more favourable than Northern Ireland as part of a united Ireland. I'm not arguing that point, but some people could. Unionists should be arguing that point. They should be saying, actually, we don't want a united Ireland because the Northern Ireland Protocol, the Windsor Framework, puts Northern Ireland in a better position. But they're not arguing that point. Why? I think it's because the DUP are so blinkered. Their hatred of the EU and Ireland is stronger than any love for the Union. I've said this before, and I'm continually convinced of that. That's why they campaigned for Brexit. That's why they hoped that it would put a border between Northern Ireland and the Republic. Because of their hatred of the EU and Ireland is stronger than any love for the Union. They were willing to take the risk. If they had actually investigated it a bit better, if they had actually looked into it, they would have realised there's a risk to the Union here. But they were happy to play that game, lose, and now complain about it. But the fact here that the DUP, which were against the Good Friday Agreement in 1998, are trying to rewrite the rules. It's a disgrace. But then Ian Paisley is a disgrace. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.